Hello and good evening, viewers. Welcome to Ubuntu Channel Zambia, where we sit and break down Zambian football. We bring to you the latest happenings in the world of sport in regards to Zambian football. We today will break down Kennedy Musonda's highly rated transfer to either TP Mazembe or Young Africans. We heard Chipolopolo coach bring out some comments that haven't really sat well with a lot of Zambians. We also have another hot topic. We have Evarine Katongo, who was invited for trials in South Africa. That is also another hot topic that we have. On my panel, I have Reuben and Lawrence. Lawrence, welcome.
Thank you so much, Lameck, and good evening to our viewers, and also good evening to Reuben.
And Reuben, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lameck. Thanks, Lawrence. There's nothing that beats Ubuntu Sports. We have fun on this segment of the program, and we enjoy ourselves as we discuss everything that has to do with Zambian sports, Zambian football.
Yeah, so we won't take up too much time. Today we will just dive straight into sports. So firstly, we have a topic. We have Power Dynamo striker who is the current leading goal scorer of the Zambian Super League, Kennedy Musonda, a former Green Eagles man who is being courted by two clubs. We have TP Mazembe, who are hot, chasing his signature. We also have Young Africans, who the club president had traveled to Kitwe to finalize the deal. He found TP Mazembe had already made contact with Kennedy, with Power Dynamos. But as it stands right now, latest news is that Young Africans are leading the race to sign the hot striker. And Lawrence, what do you think about that transfer?
First and foremost, I think it's impressive to see one of our players being appreciated outside our borders, specifically DRC by TP Mazembe and Yanga in Tanzania. And if you see the value they have placed on Musonda, it's one of those deals that are mouth-watering, and if reports are correct, we are being told that there is a quotation of there is a promise of a $6,200 per month, and which is translating to almost 100,000 kwacha based in salaries for him, which I think is the news that has led that has made so much noise, especially to the sports fanatics out back in this country. But also for me, it's impressive, like I said earlier, that our current league's top scorer is also raising alarms out of the country, and I think it's a stepping stone. Though I really wish we can see him progress even further than that if he makes it to either Tanzania or DRC. Though, as you stated, Tanzania is leading the race, and that's Young Africans leading the race for his signature, and we hope for the best.
And Reuben, your thoughts on the transfer?
Kennedy Musonda, a good player. The reason why Power Dynamo is topping the league so far, he's helped the team really to do wonders this season. But for me, on the transfer, it's painful for me. Is Zambian League really an academy for teams like TP Mazembe, for teams in Tanzania, like Simba, like Yanga? I know Lawrence is talking about issues of money, but it's very painful. I'm looking forward to a day where Zesco United is trying to sign a striker from TP Mazembe or from Simba in Tanzania. That's the only time that our teams can compete on the continental level. Look at Red Arrows. They qualified for the CAF Champions League, but they were butchered by a team coming from Angola, Agosto. You remember that, how painful it was. We want our team to be competitive, and we don't have to lose our best players to our opponents on the continental level. It's a painful move for me if he moves to that. I know he needs to progress in his career, but I'm looking forward to time when we'll see Zambian clubs really fighting for the big players and getting big players here in the Super League, making it very competitive and making sure that we progress in the continent. Lawrence, don't you want to see teams like Power Dynamos winning the Continental, the Champions League, the CAF Champions League? We want also to play in the Club World Cup. Zambia needs to be on the map, and we can't just be losing our best players to other African teams. My submission. Bye-bye.
Mr. Abia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lameck. It's a lovely good evening to you guys, Lawrence and Reuben. Eastern is warm and quiet.
That's so wonderful. So you found us, we've already started the show. We are talking about Kennedy Musonda's transfer out of Power Dynamos. So a little detail is that Kennedy Musonda has been, he first moved from Green Eagles, went to Power Dynamos. He did not see so much in front of goal. He did not score that many goals. He's been patient. He's been fighting his way. He's been impressive. He has a lot of energy and all of that in the background. He's been putting in a lot of work. This season has been his breakthrough season. He's managed to top the ZSL. We all know that we have a number of good strikers in the league that can easily top that chart. But Kennedy has surpassed expectations. He's scored in the Kitwe Derby to down Nkana FC when Power Dynamos beat Nkana 1-0 at Nkana Stadium. Yanga came on board. TP Mazembe came on board. They both were interested in the player. Power fans felt that their title chase would like selling their best player would be a big determinant to their title chase if they win the league or not, because in the middle of the season you sell your best player, your best striker, and then you will need to find somebody to level up and come and start scoring the goals that the player is going with. And again, another issue that comes on board is how much money is involved in the transfer. So multiple reports have suggested that Kennedy Musonda in his Power Dynamos contract had a $100,000 release clause. So the release clause that he had in the contract, both TP Mazembe and Young Africans activated that clause. They said, okay, if you have that 100,000, we will pay, give us the player. And Power Dynamos obliged. They said, okay, we'll let you talk to the player. Whatever he decides, if he decides younger, we are willing to sell because both of you are willing to activate the $100,000 release clause. Do you think the 100,000 is enough? Do you think Power should have asked for more? Mr. Abia, do you think Power should have asked for more? Or what do you think about the price tag?
I think for Power Dynamos to go for 100, they know what they have invested for the player, and they also see the potential of that player. Also, this is why they valued the player to that amount. But I think you can bear me witness. We have seen some transfer that we have been doing. It has been always less than 50,000 in our currency here. So to do that, I think it's a plus for them. They see, sometimes they can see that if they have, it's a money that it can show to their part, like if they have won a league, you see that, or a charity shoot. So that is a huge sum of money. But I think in the other side, we shouldn't look at the money. We should look at the potential player we are losing and the player that can add the value for us to win more trophies. Like Reuben has said, we need some of Zambian foot club to win a continental trophy. You see that? But if we are getting these potential players and sell them out, allowing to get some transfers of that, I think we are not even helping ourselves. Yes, we can talk financially, that maybe financially Yanga is doing better than the Power Dynamos. they are doing better, yes. But we need to find the solution for the clubs of Zambia, to find solution on how they can have better financially, so that they can able to compete with others, to bring in players that can help the club to grow and have a better results when they are playing in continental football. So I think for Kennedy Musonda as a top striker, scoring more goals in this season, and the power to let the player go, I think it will not help a team in any way. So I think they can only help for a big fan that they have to receive from that club.
Okay, very, very good submission. Reuben, do you think the 1.8 million kwacha price tag, is it enough for a player, a leading goal scorer of the Zambian Super League, the 60th best league in Africa?
Looking at the way Kennedy Musonda is playing this season, I think the money is not enough. For me, is more than that, and I'm very certain if he makes a move, he's going to perform in TP Mazembe or Yanga. He's going to perform. But for me, it's where I'm looking at it, where if Kennedy Musonda was to move, will Power survive? Are they going to continue winning games week in and week out? Of course, last weekend they drew against Nkwazi at home and without fans. But and again, one of the things that we need to look at is Power Dynamos is facing a sanction. 5 games without fans. They played 1 game against Nkwazi, which they drew 1-1. Are they going to manage now without Kennedy Musonda, without fans in the stadium? That's a question that I'm yet to find an answer.
Okay.
So another topic.
I think before we close that one, I think I want to also say that most of the submissions that have been made actually carry a lot of valid points, and to some extent, this is very serious. I've always been an advocate of us having quality players in our league, and that is what we all hope for. But the truth of the matter is, we need funding in our league, and that is where we are going to protect our players, because 100,000 kwacha fee that is in the contract for Musonda is something that clubs like Yanga can easily pay. How many clubs in Zambia can afford that? These are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. And I think for Power themselves, they should also kind of think of this money is going to help us. It's going to go a long way in help us build a lot of positions in the squad. 100,000 kwacha investment in players in our league, you get 6-7 players, of which in most cases, you're able to buy out the best performing players out of other clubs to improve your squad, which you cannot do when you look at the other leagues in Africa. That is why I say we need to partner up. We need to call on the corporate world to come in and partner with some of our teams and our clubs, so that they can be well financed. We can attract players also. We reach a stage where we are able to bring in coaches, the best coaches in the world, the best players in the world. Well, maybe it's too ambitious to say the world, but maybe we can say in Africa, all the same. We should be able to.
But Power Dynamos is one of the well-financed clubs. Actually, before the season started, we had reports that sponsors had put in close to $1 million. That would be like 16 million kwacha into the club. So that can also talk about the financial muscle that the club has. So
that is into the club. That is into the club, true. But all the same, what I'm trying to say is, how many Zambian clubs can afford to pay a 100,000 kwacha fee for one player? How many?
Actually, Super League to Super League club transfers, they fetch, the lowest would be maybe 70,000. A player coming from a Super League club going to a Super League club. like the latest trend in the last transfer window. We had deals as high as 500,000. We had deals as high as 700. We had deals as high as 350, 250. Players coming from a National League club going to the Super League, they fetched for somewhere like 250,000 kwacha. And the transfer window has evolved.
Involved. That's my question. It's about the capacity of the clubs, all of them. What I want to see is all clubs being able to afford such.
No, it's not. It's not possible. Look, it's not possible. Same as the bigger, each league has big clubs and there are smaller clubs. The bigger clubs will throw around their finances to bully the younger clubs. The same way, look, we also have another player, Andy Boyeli of Chambishi FC. He's been doing a lot of good work. He's been scoring goals. He made his name last season when he helped his club survive. This season, he did not leave. And he's been scoring goals. He scored against NAPSA at Hero Stadium. He scored against Kansanshi again. He has about 6-8 goals, between 6 to 8 goals so far this season. We have clubs, Zesco United, we have Power Dynamos that are courting the player also. So we talk about, when we talk about finances, I think we just lost it at some point, but Zambian clubs were paying players, players such as Water, where they were getting as high as 65,000 kwacha, and he wasn't getting the full pay during his days at Nkana. He had some sort of structure with the club that allowed the club to to pay him in such, but he was getting as high as 65,000 kwacha monthly pay. We had the Idris Mbombo's players that were getting above 50,000. So we can pay the players, but for me, it's about consistency and what the clubs are able to achieve. Because yes, you may have two players that can play well, but can you compete? Because where the money is, CAF Champions League, CAF Confederation Cup. Because when you reach the CAF Champions League, CAF Confederation Cup, you get up to 4 or 5 million kwacha for competing and reaching the group stage of those competitions. So that is where the money is. So for me and Power Dynamos, I feel Power Dynamos are right to sell. Let them sell. Let them find another player. They're being linked with Thomas Chideyu so far, who for me I feel.
Lameck, you're saying let them sell. Those are potential champions as it stands. If they qualify to
look, if Power Dynamo sell, if Power Dynamo sell Kennedy, they can go to Forest Rangers, get Thomas Chideyu.
They are able to replace the player, obviously.
Is much more of a replacement than for Kennedy. Thomas Chideyu is equally, he's a player that for me, I rank him very highly. He's a player that can get them goals and push them to win the league with, I think, maybe 3-4 games to spare. If that transfer happens.
The question is, how long are we going to do that to lose potential players? Look, we are talking about Idris Irungambombo.
As long as we're financially struggling, the only solution is to sell. Because if we football is a business, so we can't keep giving the players and not make money.
Power Dynamos are very well sound when it comes to finances.
And the other issue is, Lameck, in your submission, you said that if you reach the group stages of the CAF Champions League, you get a 5 million. That's where the money is. So we need good players for us to reach that stages. So for us to get more monies, we need to reach more than the group stage. For me, the target for Zambia now should be semi-finals of the CAF Champions League. And for us to progress that far, we need good players such as Kennedy Musonda.
No, listen, okay. We need to, in understanding Zambian football and competing in competitions such as the CAF Champions League, CAF Confederations Cup, what we need to understand is we need to understand the transitions. We are transitioning at a very good pace. We had Zesco United reaching the semi-finals. We had Dinkana who went as far as the quarter-finals. We are setting that standard. The standard was high because Nkana were on top of their game. Zesco were on top of their game. But along the way, these two clubs, messed it up. Nkana, I can't blame them because they got their grants cut in half. Zesco United, I think they changed their model. They started supporting more of Zambian players than foreign. That dropped their level a bit, and then now they're struggling to even make the group stages. So now, which club? If those two clubs were performing at that high level, you understand? If those clubs were still performing in the last 2-3 years, if those clubs had been performing at that high level, it could have given inspiration to clubs such as the Green Buffaloes, the Red Arrows, that are coming behind, the Zanacos to come and, after the standard is set, say this is the level that we should chase. If Zesco were making it to the group stages season in, season out, Ghana were making it to the group stages season in, season out, that could have changed the landscape of Zambian football. But mistakes were made, lessons were learned, and we just have to forge forward. At this time, in as much as Power have the financial muscle to keep Kennedy, for me, I feel the best is to sell. Let them sell their most prized possession,
So
and then go back into the market. There are a lot of other talents.
If you are saying let them sell, right? You are talking about Nkana. Nkana, they sell Sate Kampamba. When Sate Kampamba was in form, that can help us to get even to give us a good competition. They lost it to Egypt. Where is he? Look at about former Zanaco FC Janis Tembo. Where is he?
But listen, Abia. In as much as Nkana had those big names, Nkana only managed to score 1 goal in 9 visits in North Africa.
I was under goals. No, look at Mamelodi Sundowns and the Orlando Pirates when they reach continental football. What they do? They perform better because of good and quality players. But look at where Zesco is doing now. Jackson Wade is no longer their players. You see? So we need the financially.
That's a very good point, actually. So going forward, we have another case. We have Nkana forward. In fact, Abia's team. Nkana forward Alex Bazongonga, who was suspended, who was banned by the FAS DC because there was a complaint against him for aggressive behavior. He kicked a microphone and then he tore his Nkana jersey. And then the DC reacted. They banned him. They suspended him at first, and then a ban was passed where he was banned for 6 months. Means that he won't play any part this second round of the ZSL, and then he has to pay a sum of 20,000 kwacha. I think he was given. Is it 7 days that he was given? But latest reports and latest photos that are coming out is that Bazo has trekked to the DRC, where he's now training with TP Mazembe. Latest reports today indicate that Mazembe are interested in signing Alex Bazongonga. Gentlemen, what is your thought on that one? Do you think the ban will still be in effect in Congo?
Now, typically, a ban that is initiated by one FA is also supposed to be carried out by the FA of the country where that player travels to. I think this is a general rule in football. We can see many examples right now. Cristiano Ronaldo is serving a too much ban, and we are told he is going to make his league debut sometime later on because of the ban that was slapped on him in England for breaking a fan's phone. Now, first and foremost, for me, the 6 months ban was way too harsh. Yes, I agree he deserves some sort of punishment. I agree. And I actually was on this program when I aired the view to say such behavior deserves some sort of repercussions and all that. But 6 months is way too harsh. Even Cristiano Ronaldo in England, who could grab a fan's phone and break it because of frustration, the team was losing, only gets a too much ban. Why 6 months? I mean, for me, it doesn't add up. Now, I think him trekking to Congo is just one way of trying to get some sort of fresh air and all that. Well, they might be interested in signing him, but if my record serve me right, we are not yet in the transfer window in DRC, if I'm not mistaken. That is, and probably the interest might be for later in when the season ends or something like that. That's when we can see that move. But in the meantime, the only thing that I see is Basel trying to train with a club where he will not face some sort of criticism, because the criticism has been so much heavy on him back home here in Zambia. So I can't really bank on a transfer right now, though it might happen. I think I rest my case there.
Your mic is off, Lameck.
Mr. Abia, what do you think on Basel? Do you think the transfer will go through?
Waenda ku relegation now.
No. If the transfer will go through, yeah, that can be good for a player and the club, because we are going to receive funds from there, and financially will be better off. And just let me agree with Lawrence this time around. Yeah, I know some point I have never cooperated with Lawrence in terms of FC Musa, but let me agree with his point to say the judgment was so too harsh. You see, 6 months was really too harsh for a player. You know, we have seen a lot of players. As you elaborated last time, you yourself, Lameck, you said many players has break, even Romelu Lukaku, break those glasses there in Qatar. We have seen players doing, even Granit Xhaka at Arsenal.
But Messi kicked the microphone.
Yeah? Even Granit Xhaka at Arsenal. You see? But look, 6 months we were talking about. The Premier League now is in week 18, which means we have 18 more games to play. And the player has not to play for more than 20 or 22 games. What kind of punishment is that? You see that? What kind of punishment is that? 22 games.
Mr. Abia, maybe the problem is that we are a struggling nation when it comes to equipment, and breaking the little that we have should deserve a very harsh punishment. Maybe that is the thinking behind that.
No. You see, they ordered the player to repair those mics. I think those mics are not even worth 100,000. If you can go in detail, those mics are not worth 100,000.
So, okay, Mr. Abia, what's your general overview? Do you think the transfer will go through? Will he sign at TP Mazembe? And do you think if he signs, will he play for TP Mazembe? What do you think about that?
If he signs for TP Mazembe this time around, the rule in football, they said a player has to finish the punishment. So if the rule says the player has to finish the punishment, that means even if he got transferred to the next FA, he's going to spend that time until that time came for him to be on the pitch, unless the DRC is different to the rules of I don't know. But if the transfer,
the same FIFA rules are also, the ban at a certain stage. When you go through the rules, the ban can also not be transferred to Congo. So there's a possibility that he can sign and then he can go and play in Congo. That is also another possibility. So Reuben, we saw Alex scoring a brace. I think he scored 3 goals and then also managed to give an assist. He's impressing at TP Mazembe. Do you think he can go and make a name for himself? Can he go and be the next Zambian at TP?
Alex is a good player. We saw him scoring goals for Power before he moved to Ghana. Also, he helped in Ghana, remember, last season to fight relegation, and they survived because of him scoring important goals, going to TP Mazembe, which is a good team, and with a supplier TP Mazembe, I think he can flourish and he might even score many goals there and enjoy his game. Coming back to his punishment, for me, I agree with Lawrence and the team here. I think it was harsh. I was laughing when this news broke out here on Ubuntu channel. Someone actually wrote a long article, and one of his submission was that Faz would have just called Bazo and cancelled him. Or what he needed was cancelling and not that punishment. So I was asking him, so do you mean Faz should change the disciplinary committee into a cancelling committee, so that whichever player that misconducts himself, it just goes for cancelling? Anyway, but the thing is that yes, he was wrong and he was supposed to be punished. But like Mr. Abia said, 6 months is just way too low for him to be out just for kicking a microphone. And I don't know I think he should be a first offender. I've not seen anyone being punished for that offense. He was a first offender. I think the disciplinary committee would have reduced the punishment, or the appeals committee should have reduced the punishment maybe to 2, 3, or 4 games. Then he comes back and play. It's unfortunately for Nkana to lose such a player at this time when they really need goals and they need to come out of the relegation zone. It will be very tricky for Nkana really to survive this, because they really depend on Basel, and they're in the relegation zone. They're fourth from the bottom, and in the Zambian Super League, we relegate the last 4. So, too bad to Nkana.
Oh, you're stabbing Mr. Abia straight in the heart. Okay, so we move on. We go to women's football. So one of the stars at the Women's Africa Cup, Evarine Susan Katongo, has been invited for a trial at Mamelodi Sundowns. You know, the news has has faced a lot of criticism. I think ZISD has faced a lot of criticism for accepting the trial approach by by Sundowns. Gentlemen, do you think Evarine Susan Katongo should not go for trial? Do you think the trial is like a downgrade for her? Like, what's your general thought around the trial?
Okay.
The thing is,
let me start first.
Mr. Abia, you can go ahead.
All right. Thank you. The thing is, we can give the thought ourselves, but it doesn't mean our thought is a choice for a player. We don't know how much a player has been offered on that contract that they can be given to that player, and how worth the player sees that offer. But as for me, in my opinion, going for Sundowns is a miss for a player like Evarine Susan Katongo, because we are talking about game time here. Mamelodi Sundowns is a very good team and doing well in financial, which they can give Evarine Susan Katongo a good money by the end of the month or by the end of the week. But what we are talking here, we are talking about game time to help a player to play in the FIFA World Cup Women's. Is Susan Katongo by that time going to be in the same shape or in a different shape where he has improved in herself? So that's the area which I'm worried. Game time plus, relationship between I think I was hoping for a player to go at GBFC, here in Zambia. He could have played a good role there because the player is talented. But if she opted to go for Sundowns, yeah, it's good and well for her, but I think for me, it's a miss. That's my point.
Lawrence, what's your general thought?
Well, I think I take this invitation with the pinch of salt, because let's face it, we are looking at one of the biggest stars at the previous AFCON, and we invite them for a trial, and not just a trial elsewhere, but right in Africa, in South Africa for that matter, I think it's a little bit of a downgrade. Though again, we only get to these levels because we all know that the South African league always has more money than our league, and that is why we have to endure such kind of treatment, and our players have to endure this. So there is a moment when a player should be able to say, well, I'm bigger than this. And I think there are a lot of examples I can give of players who refused trials because they felt that was really a downgrade. Zlatan Ibrahimovic refused a trial with Arsenal because he felt he was big enough and didn't need that. And this is where we need to get, where our players should be treated as such. When you feel you are big as a player, you are treated in those lines. A big star cannot be invited for trials. No. The only thing that they have to do is send a scout and check them out. End of story. If they don't like the player, let it be. But not inviting them for trials. 2 weeks, 1 week, whatever amount of days, trials and all that. That is for players we have not even heard of. But we are talking about Evarine, one of Evarine, one of the biggest stars in Zambia's in the Zambia's midfield, one of the stars heading to the World Cup just next year.
And okay, let's hear from Reuben. Reuben, what do you think?
It's this year actually, Lawrence. This year actually.
Oh yeah, we are in 2023 now. Sorry, it's this year. Thanks for that.
Reuben, what's your general thought about that, about the trial?
Anyway, one of our best players going for a trial in South Africa. It sounds funny, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, the people that are handling Evarine Katongo really need to help her. Already, she has not been playing in the league because of the issue between ZICD and Green Buffaloes. Green Buffaloes wanted to sign that player. ZICD didn't want to sell the player. There was that issue where now it went to FAS. I don't know how far the case has gone. Because last time I checked, there was no ruling yet. FAS was yet to make the ruling, saying where the player should belong to. But for me, this is what I was saying. We need our players to play in the Super League to strengthen our teams. I would have loved Katongo to sign for Green Buffaloes. Actually, before they went to the CAF Champions League. One thing that was missing in the Green Buffaloes team was a weak midfield, and I think if they had gone with Katongo, it would have helped the team and they would have pushed more than reaching just the group stages. I think for me they could have even reached maybe the semi-finals or going all the way to the finals. But of course, there was that issue. Then just hearing her going to South Africa, really, I'm struggling to understand exactly what her agents are thinking about her career.
Okay, so over the trial. Okay, this is my thought. This is my thought. Yep. With due respect to everybody's opinion, everyone who's taken their time to comment about the Katongo issue and all of that. One thing, football is different. We use different lenses when we look at football and signing players. So in the fans' eyes, Evarine Susan Katongo is a star. You understand? In the eyes of the fans, because we know the things that she's been doing in the midfield, the goals she scored against Nigeria, and the progress she made at the AFCON. But when you go into football management, one headline is not enough to make a decision in getting a player and paying a hefty fee for a player. You understand? One headline is not enough. What has Susan Katongo achieved that will get him a direct contract with Mamelodi Sundowns? Number one, she's a 19-year-old girl. That's number one. Number two, being 19, South Africa is a different terrain. That's a different league. She hasn't tested a different league. She does not have that much experience of playing at that level. That's the first point. The second point is that for the last, she last played her last match, I think her last competitive Super League match that was I think in May. That was like 6-7 months ago when she played her last match. So she hasn't been active throughout this period. Yes, she's a national team star, but those are aspects of the game that administrators look at when deciding to say, okay, do we go for the money or do we bring her on and trial? Because a trial, listen, a trial, yes.
Lameck, so Evarine Katongo wants to go and join Sundowns, a team that wins the league in South Africa year in, year out.
So listen,
no need for trials there. You just join that team and you're already a champion of South Africa.
No. That's not how football works. That's not how football works.
It's like joining Bundesliga. It's like joining
No.
You don't need to play.
That's not how football works.
Lameck, for me, I'll tell you this. Of the points that you have raised, the only
people are using emotions.
No. There's no emotions attached here. There is no emotions attached here. Of the points that you have raised, the only point that stands out is the fact that she has been inactive. And that is a point that I probably would say.
And her being young. And her being young is a factor.
I give it a pinch of salt. Now, for the fact that she's young and has been controlling a national team midfield to the team that came. No, let me finish.
Okay.
A team that came out third at the Women's Africa Cup of Nations just last year. Also, a team that is going to the World Cup. Honestly speaking, let's just face it. We have got the World Cup coming. If they're not so sure about her, let them send scouts to go and check her out as she plays in the World Cup. End of story. Let us not start downgrading players here to
listen.
I mean,
being invited for a trial is not a downgrade. Being invited for a trial is not a downgrade. The only problem, that's why I said, a lot of fans, a lot of people commenting on Evarine Katongo are using emotions. They're using that aspect to say, okay, no, we know a ball how you sang end of my trials. Look, football does not work like that. Let me tell you this. Football does not work like that.
Football works like that. I'm not saying football works like that. Imagine Kylian Mbappe being invited maybe for trials. No, because he's 23, he's young, and because I'm giving the exact reasons that you gave. Because he's 23, he's young, and also because he has never played in Spain before. How? If it's not a downgrade, then why are you not agreeing with that?
Okay. Let me just give a final thought. So a final thought that I'm giving about this issue is that, look, football is broken down into systems. These systems are what determines a player's success. You understand? Football is broken down into systems. There's an environment, there's the age factor, there's what the player has been doing around. So those systems do not support even at the moment. Our Zambian Women's League is in its infancy. There's no way a Premier League club, an EPL club will come and sign a Zambian Super League player and go direct. It's not possible. Even the FA can't accept because of those standards and that environment that is set around. So this is what you people need to see when we start talking about football transfers, downgrades, and all of that. The trial is not a downgrade. Just a minute, Mr. A trial is not a downgrade. That's number one. Number two, Siomala Mape went to Sweden for a trial. She passed a trial in Sweden. The club wants to sign her, but what has Elite Ladies said? They said, okay, we respect the fact that you're interested in our player, but at this particular time, we are not willing to sell. We will wait for the World Cup. After the World Cup, that's when we can listen to your offer or offers that are coming from other clubs. This is what ZISD can do. Let Susan go for trial. Let her go do her thing. Come back. When she's back, don't sell. Wait for the World Cup. After the World Cup, then decide to say, okay, we can now sell. Whichever, if Sundowns are not offering the best, whichever club will come and offer the best is you sell the player, because you won't tell me that you let an opportunity go just because of how much is she getting as ISD. People think that you can just wake up today and sell a player to Europe and say, okay, no, because we were Bolo, so Area Kuba Sungu. Look, so look, these systems around football don't, it's very. That's why you've seen like players like Albert Kangwanda is back in Zambia. Why? Because of the same the same systems that are around the football and football administration and players succeeding. Albert Kangwanda is a top talent, but he went to Croatia and came back. You understand? We all here when we start asking about the Croatian league, the comments that you may bring out in the fans, they'll downgrade that league, but a player of such caliber who scored 12 goals last season in the ZSL went and failed.
Yanga should also have told Kennedy Musonda to say you are coming here for a trial.
You know what? This I think this topic will just go on and on, because like the views are varying. We have a lot of different views, and in how we look at the game.
Time for trials. 2 weeks for is this 14 days we're talking about? Why? A player like Evarine Susan Katongo. Playing at AFCON, it's not an easy thing.
So okay. So okay, you guys. So okay, you guys. Where would you take Susan? If you are the agent, where would you take Susan?
It's downgrading our player now.
If you are the agent to Susan, where would you take her?
If I was Katongo, I could have go there and attend those trials. I could have remained there at the club there. It's better to remain
so where
at
would
the
you
club.
have taken her? To which club?
That's a wastage of time. She is in.
Okay. Time is really not on our side, guys. Time is really not on our side. Okay, time is really not on our side.
Should that be a class D?
Time is not on our side. I think we have 2 more topics that we need to break down. Each topic, I'll give each one of you a minute to break down each of these 2 topics. So number 1, we have Red Arrows, the defending champions that are in such poor form. They've lost 4 games on the bounce. They play against Zesco United tomorrow at Nkoloma Stadium. Red Arrows have beaten Zesco United in the last 3 meetings. And those 3 meetings were under the watch of Numba Mamba, who was later fired by Zesco United. Zesco have a new coach, George Wandamina, and they come to Nkoloma Stadium on the back of they are pushing for top 4. They want to secure their place in the higher ranks. They want to push for the league title. That's why they brought in George and his technical bench. For Arrows, they are languishing in 6th place, picking 27 points from 18 matches. Do you think? What do you think is going on at Arrows? We start with Reuben. What do you think is going on at Arrows?
I was just taking that's actually in the afternoons. The first loss to Lubana Radiance was on the 4 games losing streak. Lost to Lubana Radiance by a goal to nil. Lost to Green Eagles by a goal to nil. Lost to Power Dynamos by 4 goals to nil. And last week they also lost to Napsa Stars. And these are the defending champions. You feel, Lameck, that there's something that is happening between the technical bench and the EXCO. Why do I say so? We saw how Oswald Mutapa left the team. Of course, now we're being told that he's signed for Nkwazi. They failed to agree, and also for me, I feel the way they did their transfers, I think that's why they missed it. They went and almost offloaded all the players from Kafue Celtics, brought in players that are not really much exposed into the league.
No, but you can't use you really can't use that as an argument. Red Arrows only let go of 3 players. We had Alido Kaembe, who left for Tanzania. We had Trezo Shiwawa, who left for South Africa, and we had Alassane Diarra who left for the Middle East. Those are the three players that left the club. So, us talking about getting players from Kafue Celtic, in our previous discussion, you objected the experience. So we can
No, I didn't object the experience.
Yeah.
You get my point. My point was we need to keep good players. For me, I would have loved the same Kennedy Musonda moving to teams like Red Arrows to go and help them, because those are the champions. The champions were supposed to look for good players that will make the team moving forward. I'm surprised they've still kept James Chamanga till this time around. I thought maybe he just came in for a season, but I've kept him. Things are not working up for them. They're allowing a lot of goals. They've allowed 7 goals in 2 matches. The last game they lost to Power Dynamos 4-0. Last match they lost 3-1. They've allowed 7 goals in 2 matches, which is a lot for a defending champions, and it's disappointing so far. I think Chisimbewe is really, really, really under pressure to pick up the points tomorrow.
And Mr. Abia, what's wrong with Red Arrows? In your own words, what do you think is wrong with Red Arrows?
I think Red Arrows now, they are tired. Those players, when you are defending champions, right? Every eye is on you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They prepare hard for you because you are defending. So this should have been in mind of players and the coach that we are defending champions. Guys, we need to work extra hard because each and every team will get us serious. Because they'll get us this is our defending champions. We are going to play with the defending champions. Let's prepare hard. So they have to prepare also themselves. If they see the defense is not working good, this is January transfer window. Sharpen the defense, man. Sharpen the midfield. Sharpen the strikers. This is the time. But they're not doing that.
They sharpened. So Abia, they sharpened the defense by bringing in Prosper Chiluya from Kafue Celtics.
Then the player is not helping them. One player cannot change the defense. It's a competition.
Okay, we go to Lawrence as we wind up. As we wind up now, Lawrence, what do you think is wrong with Red Arrows? What do you think is wrong with Red Arrows?
I have one point to go. Red Arrows, we really love you. What we need is for you to pull up. These results we are getting now, you are getting to an area where Nkana is now. Nkana, where the champions and the following league, they find themselves fighting for relegation. We don't want to see that for Red Arrows. Today you are champions, next season you are fighting for relegation. What kind of football is that? So we don't want to see that, the same thing to happen to Red Arrows. That's why I'm saying now they are tired. So that if they are listening, they have to say, guys, are we tired for sure? Let's wake up and give us results. Because
we can now go to Lawrence.
Okay,
Lawrence.
I actually share similar sentiments with Mr. Abia when it comes to teams looking at the defending champions with a different eye. When you are champions of a league in one season, the next season you are the team to beat. Everybody is looking forward to beating you because that will give them a very big statement. And I think this is what has worked against Red Arrows in some ways. Also, the fact that they seem to not to be able to keep a clean sheet of late is what is letting them so much down as things stand now. There is no way a defending champion can be getting such whoopings they're getting of late and things is to be normal. It just doesn't work out like that. At the end of the day, I think the team has to go back to basics. And when I say going back to basics is for starters, the team must first look forward to make sure they do not allow a goal. if they are able to keep clean sheets for a start, it will give them confidence going forward. You know, as a team, if you know you lose the ball in front and things are going to be bad at the back, you always play with two minds. A defense can help you a solid defense can help you go a very long way if you manage it. Therefore, I feel, for me, the biggest problem with Red Arrows is the fact that they cannot keep their goal closed for business. That is where the problem is. And going forward, I hope they make sure that the 3 players that they lost, those players were somehow key to them, are well and adequately replaced. I think it's very important. Also,
So
sometimes it is important to do some team shake-up. You know, you do a team shake-up after winning a league. You shake the team up. Some players you might have to let them go, so to bring in some fresh players, because if you try to carry on with the same team all over, somehow you become predictable in all sorts, and that also can be a reason for going down. But all the same, for me, I think the problem is at the back. Let's work on the back, and
so
then everything.
okay, Lawrence. So okay, for arrows, one thing we should put into perspective. Number one, when we talk about pressure in football, there's pressure, but for arrows, they are not under pressure to, pressure that fans are the ones that are in a lot of pressure by the club itself. Even when they were chasing the title last season, they were never under pressure. They took each game as it came. Same as this time, they are not under pressure. They are taking each game as it comes. The only problem is that they've been really unfortunate. Number one, they've had a lot of injuries. The defenders have been injured. Ricky Banda has found life really difficult going this season because of injuries. They've had their midfield. The midfield is down because of injuries, and just that psychological aspect of where the team doesn't have the best players. They are badly hit with injuries. If you listen to their interview, the coaches' interviews, pre and post match interviews, they always talk about the fact that the team is hit by injuries. So for Arrows, that's one aspect that is leading, that is contributing to their poor run of form. The injuries and all of that, and maybe they just need a little bit of confidence. But so far, I think when they just get one or two of their key players back fit again, then they'll get their ground and start running again. And then our final topic of the night. So I'm giving you 30 seconds each. Avram Grant posted some comments during his interview with ZNBC. He talked about Zambia not having a lot of players playing in big leagues. So before we comment, number one, what we need to look at is the standard of play. That's number one. The facilities available. That is number two. Because a player who's playing in the local leagues is different to the player playing in Europe because of the facilities that are available to them. The only difference between players such as Enoch Mwepu and the Kevin De Bruyne is that the facility that each of the two players, were exposed to while growing up. So I want you to put that into perspective, and we'll start with Lawrence. What do you think about the comments from the coach?
Well, there are two sides to that comment, and let me just also highlight the comment itself. He says we are struggling as a country to perform well as in football terms because we do not have much players playing in Europe, especially now. For me, I feel playing in Europe is not all that it takes. let's just be fair, because if the coach is going to tell us because of that we do not have much players, a lot of players playing in Europe, then we that's why we are not performing well. I think he's as good as telling us that because of that, we should not be expectant from him so much.
So your 30 seconds is almost done. Your 30 seconds is almost done.
We won the Africa Cup of Nations in 2012 with how many players playing in Europe? Let's be factual here. With how many players playing in Europe? And
Katongo was abroad. A good number of the players in the team were abroad.
Abroad where? Who was in Europe that time?
Because okay, your 30 seconds is done.
I think Katongo was in China.
Let's go to Abia. Let's go to Mr. Abia. Abia, your comment. Because Lawrence and I will go at each other and be here for the night.
I have a long statement, so start with Reuben. I'll end up myself.
Okay, no, just summarize it. Just sum it up and tell us what you think about the comments that the coach made. What do you think about the comment that Zambia does not have enough players playing in Europe?
The thing is, the coach, he has a point where he wanted to make, but the unfortunate journalist only got a bad part. You see, he was trying to say we are not doing well because we don't have many players playing for Europe. You see,
that is the point.
Listen to me. Well, the point what he was trying to say is he want to bring up an idea where he made a lot of players to play for Europe and to play a competitive football. If it is not that, it means that we have this problem. Then he was wrong. Because in 2012, where Lawrence is talking about, we have only Christopher Katongo playing in China.
Your 30 seconds is almost done, Mr. Abia.
And Luambo Musonda playing in Aomeri. So we have only 3 or 4 players playing for Europe at that time. But many players were playing in South Africa and DRC. But we did well. So the thing is, he has to discover the talent that are available and sharpen them. That's what we need. Excuses that are coming up, we are not going to like it. It's the same as that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abia. Thank you.
We are footballing nation. This is why we are AFCON 2012.
Okay, Mr. Abia. Okay, thank you so much for that one. Let's go to Reuben. Reuben, what do you think?
I have a lot of statement. You say, I should summarize.
No, I don't know. We're really out of time. Reuben, we're really out of time. 30 seconds for you.
Before I do that, let me just go through this comment from Chisoa. It says the reason why Red Arrows is struggling is simple. You cannot allow your best players, and I think he meant to leave without making a proper replacement. This is what I was saying. They just went and offloaded players from Kafue Celtics. For me, I think that's what they missed it. They needed to do a proper replacement. And let me go to the coach's comment. The coach's comment. We saw Tunisia qualifying to the World Cup without any foreign player, used local players. We saw Egypt winning almost 3 times the Africa Cup of Nations with 3/4 of the players coming from the local league. He needs to build a team and introduce his philosophy in the team. That's the reason why we brought him here. Not to tell us where the players should go and all that. That is not his job. Him is to assemble the team. How many players do we have actually in Europe? We have more than 7 players that are playing in Europe right now. Okay, and FAS is also trying their best to bring in some of the players that are Zambian born and they're playing in Europe. So for me, it feels like he's already giving up excuses even before he starts his job, because he has not started yet. Yes, I know he's been doing some
okay, Lawrence, we're really out of time. So okay.
All right.
Okay, you can give your final thought.
Yeah, okay, to just summarize it all, for me, that comment shouldn't have come from the coach. I would have loved if he said, I'm here to help out players, maybe to go to better leagues, than him putting it that way that we're struggling because of people not playing in Europe. For me, no. It should have come from him, and it's too early for him. I hope you won't end up telling us we're not a footballing nation.
No. Okay, so from me, I think the comment by the coach was being realistic, and then the only problem is that as Zambians we have not accepted the fact that we are not at that level, because at the time, at this particular time, how many Super League clubs have even simple GPS vests? You understand? Football has gone the technological where Mr. Abia, wait. So where you calculate the numbers, like you have to calculate the numbers.
Mr. Abia, listen from like,
when we were playing final against Ivory Coast, how many players we are playing in Europe for Ivory Coast? Almost the whole team, but we managed to beat them. It's not that classic player. In 2012,
Abia.
So
Abia and Lameck.
Okay. Let me give you an example.
Looking at the 2012 AFCON winning team list, and I've only seen 2 names of players who were playing in Europe at that time, and that was Sambalungu for FC Urao and also Emmanuel Mayuka, who was playing for Zurich. These are
okay. Lawrence and Abia. Listen, listen.
Around than then.
I understand your arguments. I understand your arguments, but let me just put this into perspective. From 2012, we beat Senegal in 2012. Look at the development that Senegal has undergone to date, and what has changed in the Zambian team to date. Where are we and where is Senegal? So if you talk about the coach's comment, look at, I'll give you that example. Use that as a reference. Look at Senegal and look at Zambia. What has changed on the Zambian side, and what has changed, and where is Senegal today, and where is Zambia today? If you talk about the coach's comment, use that as an example.
We can analyze what has gone wrong in the Zambian football. We can have that topic.
No, we won't go and start diagnosing problems. The coach made a comment and it was factual.
Administrative that we have.
It's not wrong.
Administrative problems.
The coach was very wrong, man.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for showing up today. To the viewers, thank you so much for coming through and joining us here on Ubuntu Channel Zambia. It was a heated show. We had Mr. Abia, we had Lawrence, we had Reuben, all giving their opinions. You know, we all had varying opinions.
Give us 15 seconds to say bye to our viewers. Don't like that.
No, Mr. Abia. Here I'm going to protect Lameck. We need to go, gents. It's late. Thank you very much for watching Ubuntu Sports. We come every Friday 20:30 to talk about nothing but Zambian football. Thank you for all your comments and thank you for your viewership. Till next week, it's bye-bye from us.